Now, joining us is GERALD CELENTE, and here's his economic martial law top trends for 2012. And we'll do a document cam shot of that for the viewers right here in the general document cam shot area. And there it is for viewers out there. Top 12 trends. And he said this a year and a half ago. This came out before 2012, or almost 2 years ago, and said there'll be bank runs, there'll be bank holidays. That's, you know, he did a little song on air. It's a holiday. He said it would start in the Mediterranean, in Europe, and now it has. And he said when they start taking 10% or so out of bank accounts, it's big trouble. And we're actually digging up, we should have it, we've actually found it, but we're transferring it. We're actually digging up some of the times GERALD has said this. And now he's going to tell us what comes next after this. And don't forget, after he'd predicted all of this, his own private gold account got bought, a company he'd been trading with for 30 years or so. It got bought by MF Global, unbeknownst to him, and they just took his money and took billions of other people's dollars. And now they're saying 40 billion of it still hasn't been paid back, even though it's been in bankruptcy. So there's a couple billion totally stolen, and they've given some of it back, but then 40 billion total to just general creditors of MF Global itself. But he wasn't part of that. He just had a bank account they grabbed. So, and now they're calling it a tax when foreign banks, CYPRUS won't even vote right now because of the bank holiday and the shutdown and the fire bombings. So now the Euro says, well, we have the power just to do it anyways. We put Mario Draghi over Italy. We put other people over Greece. We did that in Ireland. We're just going to take over. So this is the imperial banking takeover. Trends Journal head, top trends forecaster, GERALD CELENTE, joins us right now, trendsjournal.com. GERALD, break down what this means, what we're facing, and now where you see this acceleration going.
All right, first, very important, a trend tracking tip. I write about it all the time. They always do things on the weekends, so they freeze the people out, whether reporting on news that they're obligated to report on, or pulling scams like this. So after the markets close, they always do the dirty deal, whether it's a downgrade of a country's creditworthiness, releasing information about a big lie that they were covering up and are obligated to tell it about. They always do it after the markets close, after it's too late. And this way it stabilizes the markets. It gives them time to rig it during the weekend so it doesn't go down as much as it should. So again, this came out on a weekend, froze everybody out, couldn't get their dough out, number one. Number two, what you said, the white shoe boy lingo. How about calling it a tax on deposits? Isn't that a nice word? How about stealing your damn money? So they call it white shoe boy language to make it seem softer. The other thing, another beautiful term, white shoe boy language, they're giving depositors a haircut. No, they're not. They're stealing their money. So now the other thing to watch out, because this is a big picture that's unfolding. Watch the prostitutes, listen to them. Anybody could do it. It's all going to be put up in a little while. Go to CNBC. The flunkies for the money junkies. All they did was spend about 15 minutes talking about how Cyprus was a haven for money laundering for the Russian criminals.
So now the entire public deserves it because there's money laundering when the mega banks, the Federal Reserve, has been caught with over $400 billion in Wachovia and Wells Fargo banks and got in no trouble. That's Bloomberg AP. Exactly. They're going to criminalize all of us. Well, bank money's dirty. So we're taking, whether you're a fireman, a teacher, a cop, a psychologist, a farmer, an auto mechanic, all of you get 10% of your money taken because you're a gangster.
Exactly. But do you see what they're doing, though, Alex? The story's much bigger. This new prime minister they just put in Japan, the head of Japan, the president of the party, his first stop, she's first stop, XI is she. His first stop was to go see Putin. This is really an attack on Russia. You're talking about money laundering? Hey, anybody hear of the Grand Cayman Islands, the big grand scheme? Did anybody ever hear of the HSBC money laundering scandal?
Ever heard of Switzerland? Ever heard of Luxembourg? Ever heard of Monte Carlo?
Exactly. So what did HSBC just pay? Almost $2 billion worth of fines in December for money laundering. So what they're doing is they're making this seem like a convoluted issue. The other important point, we're only talking about a $10 billion bailout here. This isn't a big one. It shows you the fragility of the entire system. The next important point, you're hearing now from the American Banking Association, from D.C., don't worry about it, Americans. Your money's insured. Yeah, just like it's insured over there in Cyprus. As a member of the Eurozone, the money's supposed to be insured for 100,000 euros, about 125,000.
But it's not insured from them stealing it.
Exactly. But here's what I believe they're going to do. When the crisis starts spreading, what they're going to do, they're going to devalue the currencies. So they're going to say, yeah, don't worry, your money's insured. But guess what? It's only worth a fraction of what it is. There's a precedent for this.
And they'll do it during the holiday. Remember you did that little holiday dance?
That's right. We're going to send you the videos of me doing that. You should be receiving them momentarily. But here's the rub. When they did it in the United States in 1933, they called a bank holiday, and they did it by devaluing the currency, because in those days, gold was pegged to the dollar. Or, the dollar was pegged to gold. The dollar was pegged to gold at about $20.65 an ounce, or thereabouts. After they stole all the people's gold and made them give it back on the penalty of law, they then repegged the price of $1 to gold to $35 an ounce, which means that you lost 70% of your purchasing power. So don't worry, your money's guaranteed, you're going to get it back, but guess what, Jack? It's going to be worth a fraction of what it was before. And that's why you're seeing now, as we speak, gold prices are again moving back up. And then all of a sudden, they're again saying, hey, gold is a safe haven. No kidding.
Amazing. And they've been using naked shorting to try to drive it down, while you can pull it up. George Soros, institutions, the communist Chinese government have been snatching gold as fast as they can.
Right. And now we're looking also, when you're looking at the fragility of all this, yes, you know, the GDP, the banking to GDP is 8 times that in Cyprus. It's 8 times their GDP, which is very large, and it is a banking hub and they were trying to establish themselves like a Cayman Island, like an alternative to Switzerland. But remember, their GDP is only 0.2% of the entire Eurozone. This is chump change.
Well, here's my next point. Just like you said, they had to steal a few billion of people's money to prop up all of MF Global to show the fragility and didn't get in trouble. And you said this will only encourage them now to start stealing more. This is a small bite test. They want to see if it panics things too much, they'll back off and only take maybe 5%, 7% now they're talking about. Do you agree that's what this is a trial balloon?
I definitely agree with it. I definitely agree. You know, there are two things, two stories that should ring in everybody's mind that tell you what it's all about. One, not having to do with this, but it will have to do with it later as we get closer to war, is General Dwight D. Eisenhower warning the nation that the military-industrial complex was taking it over. A 5-star general, supreme commander of the Allied forces, and for all those Republicans out there, a 2-term Republican president. The other one is the story of Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, becoming violent and picking up a whip to drive the money changers out of the temple. This has been going on forever. These are money changers.
It's fraudsters. They were making people give them 10 silver coins for 1 silver coin that the rabbis would only take to pay for the offerings, and ripping everybody off. And by doing that, by making them pay to make an offering to God, by turning that into a blasphemy, they were able to take over that entire society, and he physically attacked them.
Exactly. So those two stories should stick in everyone's head. Hey, look, James Madison, anybody could Google it up. He called them money changers. Now they call them, again, they changed the name. They put white shoe boy language on it.
Andrew Jackson called them vipers.
Yeah, exactly. So nothing has changed. So when you go back to the meeting in Brussels over the weekend, oh, by the way, the people in Cyprus, like the people in Greece, like the people in Spain, like the people in Portugal, like the people in Ireland, they all deserve what they get. Because guess what? Just like the people in the United States, they voted to put these lying slime balls into office. They just had an election in Cyprus a couple of weeks ago. And this prime minister, the new president, he vowed that he would never do this. You listen to the finance chairman of the Cypriot government just a week ago saying that to steal the money, but of course they didn't use that language, from the depositors or tax the depositors was a stupid idea.
And by the way, remember, they've signed on to all the euro debt. Most of this is propping up derivatives, and we're giving $85 billion a month, and what half of it, to foreign banks as part of QE Infinity. Gerald, we just skipped this network break to have more time. What do you expect to happen as they go into overdrive, as currencies race to devalue each other, and more of the inflation is upticking? Now, what are you calling to happen next?
This Eurozone issue is falling apart. Here's the big one going on in Italy. They still haven't formed a government. And, you know, being Italian, I'm really proud of the Italians for this one in pushing forward Beppe Grillo's 5-star movement. And that's another little story, by the way.
That's right. Beppe Grillo said last week, I have the London Telegraph here just to back you up. He said, quote, the northern European countries are only holding on to us until the banks have recouped their investments in Italian sovereign bonds. Then they'll drop us like a hot potato. He went on to say that Mario Monti is nothing but a receivership arm for their planned bankruptcy. And he said,
exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so, but it's important for everyone, you know, because of the people that listen to your station and subscribe to our Trends Journal and follow our information. You know, there are people that want to do something to make the change. And it's very important. That's the model. We're going to be writing a lot about it in the April Trends Journal. It was a movement, not a protest. Protests come and they go. Movements stay. And this movement, so you're asking me what's going to happen. What's going to happen is you're going to start seeing more movements taking place in Italy, in Spain, in Portugal. There's going to be revolutions. They're not able to hold this together. You mentioned the quantitative easing lines, the baloney. They only are keeping this together by dumping all of this money into the system. It's not working. It's only saving the too big to fails that, as we now heard from our Attorney General, Eric Himmler Holder, that these two banks are too big to prosecute, in essence. They cannot keep this together. It's going to unravel. When will it fall apart? I don't know, because here's why I don't know. I know when it should happen, but it's like being a card counter. Going to Las Vegas, you're a great card counter, but you're losing every hand. And then you find out that they put another 30 cards in the deck.
That's right.
That's what they're doing. They keep changing the deck.
That's right. We've reached into such an Alice in Wonderland that they said we left recession 5 years ago, and by every real estimate, by all the top private experts, and using old numbers, old ways to break things down, we're in a depression, but they just use mind control to say that we're not. And then they replace beef with horse meat. They put more air in the chip packages. They adulterate the fuel. They do everything they can to paper this over, but more and more, the paper is peeling away. But going back to the Justice Department, when they come out last year and this year and say, too big to prosecute, banks are allowed to launder, 400+ billion now in drug money. The troops are ordered to grow the opium. Yeah, we're going to have warrantless checkpoints. Yeah, we're going to arrest you for filming police in public. All this police state. When they do that, it's more than too big to fail. It is a green light for corporate and government crime. It is above the law. They are trumpeting that we're above the law. And Gerald, let me tell you this. We're seeing armed troops show up everywhere now. National Guard, you name it, at checkpoints, even in Austin. We're seeing TSA highway checkpoints expand, special forces operations. And I've talked to the troops. They've been told, even when you're off duty, wear your uniform, wear your battle belt, wear your weapons in public to get everybody ready. And they say, ready for what? Well, for collapse and gun confiscation. And I'm telling you, Gerald, if they try the gun confiscation, it is going to erupt into a civil war, which is what they want. I think they want to start a civil war ahead of the collapse to blame the collapse on the Civil War. What do you say about that? The move to get our guns, the 2 billion bullets, the armored vehicles, while they deny they're doing it?
Well, again, they'll use something like they did with the tragedy at Sandy Hook. It doesn't even have to be a big one, and they'll use that as an excuse to clamp down on us. And as you keep reporting, I go to your site virtually every day, and you keep putting out the information, what Homeland Security is doing, the billions of rounds of ammunition they're buying, the armored personnel carriers, et cetera. They know it's coming down. They may be stupid, but they're very shrewd. And they're seeing it collapsing. And you really nailed it, Alex, when you said, are they using this as a trial balloon? Yes, they are. It's Cyprus. Nobody could find this damn place on the map if you didn't show 80% of the people or more where it is. As I said, it's only 0.2% of the entire Eurozone's GDP. So they're the test case.
That's right. What do you make of the Russian fleet about to arrive? I mean, this sounds like the beginning of World War I or World War II. It's all the same military drawing battle lines, all this craziness. Also, the bankers can play big guy and take over.
Again, I've been saying this over and over again. History is repeating itself. The crash of 1929, the Great Depression, currency wars, trade wars, world war. And we're going back into it. Look at the words that just came out from the Communist Party meeting. They only go every 10 years. And so there's been a lot of news coming out. It's a remilitarization. And the Chinese and Russians against NATO. The alliances are already forming.
And their proxy, North Korea, now threatening to nuke everyone. I mean, they're kicking off a new war.
Well, again, whether I don't know if, North Korea is going to nuke everyone, but I do know that the United States... Oh, here's...
Sure, I meant new battle lines, a new Cold War. Yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
How about this for a waste of money? Did you hear over the weekend they're going to put more, missile systems on the West Coast, just in case North Korea is going to bomb California? I mean, you want to talk about a waste of money? Here we are going down the toilet financially, and they just found a couple of $2 billion more to put up missile systems that are at best only 50% accurate and against nothing. So what they're doing, Alex, is they're beating the war drums. So when you're asking about the Russian fleet moving in, the Russians, the Iranians, and China on one side, NATO, the United States, and the Arab Little League on the other side.
It's incredible. Meanwhile, the globalists are above it all, playing all the sides off, using uncertainty to consolidate power, using rioting to implode countries. It's in all their own documents. Insider billionaire investors like George Soros and John Paulson have recently made massive moves into gold, purchasing what Bloomberg News described as gold hoards. Soros alone doubled his holdings in a single day. Russia's Vladimir Putin has doubled down on gold, increasing the country's holdings by over 100%. With $1.8 trillion under management, the bond king Bill Gross, the world's preeminent bond fund manager at PIMCO, has warned investors of the dangers of QE3 and inflation. And what's he betting on? You guessed it, gold. Friends, this is Alex Jones for MidasResources.com. For more than 15 years, I have exclusively used Midas Resources for all my precious metal needs. Whether it's bullion or collectibles you're looking for, Midas Resources is simply the best. I own my gold as a hedge against inflation. This Federal Reserve fiat currency could go the way of the Deutschmark and the Weimar Republic anytime. In these historically dangerous times, it makes sense to physically hold gold and silver. Midas already has some of the best deals in the industry. But if you give them a call and mention the radio special, they will give you a list of the day's super specials. Midas brokers are standing by to answer all your questions at 800-686-2237. They also have a lot of informative free literature explaining the opportunities and risk of holding precious metals. They are ready to answer your questions at 800-686-2237. Again, that's 800-686-2237. Look at this report from Fox News. Dems preserve U.S.-Mexico food stamp partnership to advertise in Mexico for illegals to come to the U.S. and get food stamps. Anything to bankrupt the country, anything to balkanize the nation. While USDA prepares for meat inspector furloughs, all they do is just radiate it now, and they spray weird live vaccines on it, these viruses that eat the bacteria. I mean, it's just frankenfoods. And the article goes over all the bizarreness about the partnership with the Mexican government to raise awareness about food stamps among immigrants from that country. The Californian government, I remember I learned this 15 years ago. I even saw the ads. I was sent the newspaper by listeners in San Diego, where the government, the state put ads in the newspapers in San Diego, but also in Mexican papers saying, come to America, have your baby for free. I mean, anything to bankrupt the country. Can I go to Mexico and have a baby for free? I mean, again, missiles that don't do anything on the West Coast, our own government helping give North Korea the nuclear reactors under ABB, under Clinton, and Rumsfeld was involved as the head of the company. Look at these articles on Drudge. New EU bailout plans, steal bank accounts, island set to seize personal savings. Plan moves ahead as vote delayed. So they're like, oh, you're not going to vote for it? We're still going to do it. Putin, unfair, dangerous. Here come the bank runs. Germany, not our idea. Will Italy follow? And that's an Infowars.com article that I wanted to ask Gerald Celente about. We're going to bring Ted Anderson up just for about 3 minutes to get his take as a 30-year gold and silver broker and owner of this network, and to also tell you about Midas Resources briefly. Bank chief calls for 15% looting of Italian savings. Is the financial rape of Cyprus another IMF riot waiting to happen? And then it's got the releases here where the German bank chief with their central bank has come out and said that we need to have 15% of the Italians' money to not even back up their debts, but to put it into EU general debts, as the EU bureaucrats are exempt. Gerald Celente, trends forecaster with trendsjournal.com. Everybody should subscribe there today and sign up for the free news alerts, or you're crazy. Knowledge is power. What's going to happen with the Italians if they're already on the edge of revolt over all the new VAT taxes and stuff, and the head of the IMF says they should work 6-7 days a week and pay more money? What's going to happen now when they try to come and say, oh, Italians are criminals, every man, woman, and child, we're going to take their money? What do you think that's going to do?
Again, we've been writing about this, Alex. It's class warfare. That's all this is. You have a bunch of money junkies at the top sucking everything out of the system, whether it's in Egypt, whether there's no Arab Spring, whether it's Tunisia, any of these countries. It's a couple of people and their buddies on the top, just like the United States, where the 1% gets all the gains and the rest of us go down. You saw the personal income data that came out a couple of weeks ago. What did it decline? 3.6%? So what's happening is the people have had it. And you know my saying, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. and they're losing it. They've had enough. They've had enough of this criminality. And the only thing the politicians are the wise guys for the crime bosses, and the crime bosses are the Goldman Sachs gang and the Merrill Lynch mob and the J.P. Morgan Chase criminals. I mean, you read the paper what happened with this so-called London whale thing and how they cooked all the books with J.P. Morgan Chase. Any of us, if we did it, they'd have us locked up. Well, you don't see any heads roll. And the people losing their homes. I have friends in Greece. I have friends in Spain and in Italy. I have people in Portugal. They keep telling me with the suffering that people are going through.
Oh, it's hellish. And that's not in our news. Tell folks what Europe's like. It's in their news, but people don't know. Babies being left, bankruptcy, whole thousands of people begging for food out of, dumpsters. If a truck dumps a few fruits on the ground, there's riots. This is happening all over southern Europe, the Mediterranean. It's starting into Western Europe. Do people have any idea how big a powder keg this is? And then the government of Europe is arming itself and aiming its weapons outward. Just incredible tyranny. And how they exempt themselves. I keep going back to that. How the EU bureaucrats exempt themselves from the EU-wide VAT and income tax. I mean, they should all be arrested right there. Look at LIBOR. All of it rigged against the people. They should all go to jail, but they don't. So why shouldn't they steal more? Because they want to make everybody poor as a tool of control. And thank God we've got guns, Gerald, because just the fact the guns are there, they're afraid to really rape us as hard as they are the Europeans.
The biggest mistake that this administration made, in my estimation, is this whole push for gun control. Because what they did was they rallied a group of people that may have not been rallied before. So now more people have come under the umbrella of losing your individual rights. This isn't about guns. It's about rights. And they keep being taken away from us. It was a huge mistake they made, because they brought in millions and millions of people that probably wouldn't have given a damn about other issues. But now it's hitting them. It's hitting their own psychology before it was out of their minds. If they, oh, so what, there's warrantless wiretapping. Yeah, it sounds terrible, but what do I care? So what about the National Defense Authorization Act? It doesn't affect me. But now it's a direct effect. And it brought a lot more people into the fold. And going back to what's going on in Europe, again, look who's running the central bank in Europe. Mario Draghi. Who is Mario Draghi? He was a former vice chairman of the Goldman Sachs European division. Who's the guy that's taking over now at the Bank of England? Mark Carney. Who is he with? Goldman Sachs. Who was the guy that started this whole too big to fail scam going? Henry Paulson, former Treasury Secretary under George Bush. Where was he before he came here? The chairman of Goldman Sachs. Who was the guy that deregulated Glass-Steagall, got it into motion under Clinton? Could have been Robert Rubin, could it? Now, he was with Goldman Sachs, too, and the chairman? Yeah. Can anybody put this together? It's a banking takeover worldwide. That's all this is. And what they're going to do, I believe in... Oh, here's the message I want to tell everybody. If you think you have your money in the bank and it's yours, you better grow up. And I've told everyone the stories of what's happened to me several times, trying to withdraw sizable deposits. Every
time you're on, you say they will take your money out of the bank. They will just grab it. They will take percentages. Now they're saying they're going to take 401ks. Now they're ordering companies to invest in too big to fail bonds. I mean, it's on. They are going to steal everything in increments. And my wife's gone to get a few $1,000s, and they freak out and ask her if she's a criminal. And she's like, we've been at this bank for 5 years. I mean, again, they're the crooks.
And another thing that we did on the Trends in the News, we sent you that video. On February 27th, we said, watch out, stay very closely tuned to what's going on in March. March or April, we said something is going to come down. I went back to our 1999 trend forecast of the dot-com bubble burst. It's right there on the Trends Journal on our site, trendsjournal.com. And I said the dot-com bubble would burst by the second quarter of 2000. It blew apart in March. March is one of those months like October. You could go throughout history. You always see it repeating itself. This Cyprus issue, although it's a small country, it's a huge event. In days, if not weeks, it'll be forgotten by most people. And then they're going to wake up to it. Most won't wake up to it. The next thing is going to hit is going to be a major hit from either Spain, Portugal, or Italy. And my money's on Italy, because in Italy, they cannot form a government. Beppe Grillo will have no part of the corrupt system that's in place. When will the people wise up? Nothing is going to change in this country with the systems that are in place now.
So the bottom line is pull your money out of the bank. That's what you're saying personally. That's what everybody, in my view, needs to do, because, ladies and gentlemen, the system will steal your money and is arming against us like common criminals. I want to bring Ted Anderson up.
Wait, I don't want to say that. I'm not telling people what to do, because if anything, I'm only speaking for myself.
No, I said I personally, but we have listeners calling in saying, what will it do if everybody worldwide started pulling their money out of the bank ahead of them doing this incrementally?
I believe it'll straighten the system out.
But, I mean, there's only 2-3% actual cash on average for Europe and the U.S. For actual money out there. Do you think that would send a shot across their bow?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it'll bring down these too big to fail so we can get business going again. So local banks can start building again. So what do they have? Over 80% of the action. 7 banks?
Sure.
Who made this stuff up?
We do have that. We do have that video clip. It says February 27th, but I was this a year ago or 2 years ago?
No, it was this past February. A couple of weeks ago. I said, watch out what's going to happen in March.
Okay, but I remember you years ago.
Oh, that's the bank. No, that comes later on. Those are the ones, that's the watching out in March. Later on, after that clip, are the other ones about the holidays.
Okay, so is it all one clip, guys, or is it multiple clips? Because my issue is we just got this, and I want to play it. Okay, so we were sent one clip. Gerald, are you saying in the one clip is a group of clips of you predicting it?
Yes. Go past the February 27th one and go to the bank holiday ones.
Okay, well, while we're finding that in the clip, I want to bring Ted Anderson up because, again, I'm the same way as Gerald. I'm not going to tell you what I think you should do, but I personally have bought firearms, rural property, and gold and silver, and it is all done very, very well. But I don't have it to do well. I do it because I can't trust this criminal system. And I want to bring Ted Anderson up to get his brief take on all this, because he's predicted this for many years as well. I mean, this is what governments do. Ted, how close do you think we're getting towards a more accelerated meltdown? They had to know this was going to cause a panic. Do you agree with Gerald and I that they did this as a trial balloon?
Well, you know, Alex, when you see a place like Cyprus falling apart and causing problems, I mean, we're talking about a little blip on the map. This is not a big economic superpower, and yet it drives the value of gold right over $1,600 an ounce. We've seen a $50 increase there. Silver's up too. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of problems in the economy. The Fed and the central banks of the world are trying to prop up this whole thing by keeping the interest rates low. Meanwhile, taking care of like you guys have been talking about, they're just taking care of their own. That's all. They're destroying the economy for everybody else, but they're bailing out the too big to fail. Just like Gerald is saying, we're right on the edge. We're on the cusp of a huge problem, and it's so mind-boggling that things are holding together, but it's like stuck together with tacks and staples. I mean, this
absolutely. Well, you've got that free report, 10 reasons to own gold, for people to make their own decision, their own research. But I personally am making the decision I don't even have that much money in the bank anyways. I've invested it all getting the word out here at Infowars.com. But, I mean, it's time to just realize that you can't even have operating capital hardly in the bank for, you know, our news operation because they could steal that. And then we're just shut down. I mean, it's really crazy, and it's going to hurt business that banks and government are so untrustworthy, and that's part of what collapses society. I hope people will give Midas Resources a call, and we'll check out the great gold and silver deals you've got, because I believe now is the time to get involved, and I personally am going to double down. I mean, look at this article I've got from Bloomberg last year. Soros buying gold as record prices seen on stimulus. Give Midas a call at 800-686-2237, 800-686-2237. And again, Ted's a big sponsor of the show and also the owner of the radio network and just the best gold and silver broker out there in my humble view. But going back to Gerald, is there anything you personally want to add on this banking issue with how you've tried to get money out before, not even that much, and they act like you're some type of criminal, and how this hurts the economy that banks can't be trusted now?
Well, again, you know, you mentioned about how they're rigging everything. You mentioned about the LIBOR. And we're talking about what? About $600 trillion worth of rigging? And then you want to see a rig that's right in front of everybody's eyes? How about the bond market? You don't have to make it up. You see the money that they're dumping into the system every month, 85 billion plus that we don't know about, beyond the 85 billion that we know. So what I'm saying is for people to use their own common sense. Look what's going on. Do you think that Europeans right now aren't pulling their money out of their bank accounts? Don't you think that they're freaking out because they see what's going on? This deal, when I've been reading everything coming out on it, when the people from Cyprus, the president and the finance minister, went to Brussels, the deal was already done. The Germans told them what they were going to do, and they were going to take the money from the depositors. And where's the money going? The money is going, it's not, they talk about the banks in Cyprus, and they talk about the banks in Italy and in Spain. No. These are the big German banks, the Finnish banks, the Dutch banks, the Belgian banks that loaned all these banks in the smaller countries the money to loan out. They didn't get that money on their own. So what they're doing is they're really taking this money from the bottom so they could pay off the big guys at the top. So all I'm saying is if anybody thinks that they're not going to screw you, well, good for you.
And you personally, I know Ted's more than half into gold and investments and savings. You personally are a firm believer in gold and silver.
All my investments are in gold and silver. And the only other investments I have are the historic buildings that I buy in Colonial Kingston, because this is where the first American Revolution had a lot of its roots, and I want to do the second one. Other than that, that's it. Gold and silver, and a good friend of mine, I think, has the best strategy. Every month he buys what he can afford in gold and silver. So you think about it. You just saw gold go down, what, to 15, I forgot what the low was in this recent downturn. And now it's back over 1,600. So when you keep buying every month, then you start seeing this thing really averaging out. Oh, and by the way, for all of those people that watch CNBC and believe the hype and how wonderful the markets are doing, check it out. When the markets were at where they are now, back in 2007, I think gold was about $760-something, around there. What's it now? 1,600. Oh, and what's the market now? Oh, it got back to where it was in 2007.
And it's with devalued dollars, so it's inflationary. We'll be right back with his prediction.
As we saw in Katrina, and as we are watching now in New York and New Jersey, the federal government can't and won't help you in a crisis. FEMA ran out of water and MREs in days. Electricity is still off to over 1 million people. The Red Cross, who is quick to beg for money, is now slow to react. Don't put it off any longer. Get prepared today. While you're on InfoWarsShop.com, check out these other great preparedness items. The Aquapod kit lets you store up to 65 gallons of water in your bathtub. The Pocket Socket provides you with manual electricity for small electronics like your cell phone. The Life Straw is great for your bug-out bag. And check out our complete line of Interfood products for great tasting and nutritionally dense foods that have a great shelf life. If you are looking to secure your home in a crisis, you can order Strategic Relocations, the film, a great companion to the book Strategic Relocations 3rd edition, and The Secure Home by Joel Skousen. When the time to perform arrives, the time to prepare has already passed. Get prepared now, so if a crisis strikes your home, you and your family will be secure. Go to InfoWarsShop.com.
You're the devil in disguise. Oh, yes, you are. Yeah, well, this is devil out in the open, not devil in disguise with the New World Order. TrendsJournal.com. He's going to do 30 minutes of Overdrive with us. Ted's going to pop in a little bit. In the next segment, we're going to take a few calls. People that want to talk to Gerald at 800-259-9231. Now, we've got predictions here in this compilation he sent us from last year in June. But here's the first one, I think, February 27th of this year, just a month or so ago, predicting what we're now seeing unfold. So now TV viewers can see the dates. For radio listeners, I'll mention the date during the clips. This will take us to the end of the hour. Then we'll come back with Gerald's response. Let's go to the first clip.
Bernanke puts case for benefits of easing. Fed chairman in combative mood as he defends continuing asset purchases. Ben Bernanke's mission for his trip to Congress yesterday was to explain why the benefits of the U.S. Federal Reserve's third $85 billion a month round of quantitative easing will outweigh its costs and risks. So let's make this 100% clear. The only reason these markets are improving is because of all this cheap money being flooded into it. March is an important month. If you go back to October of 1999, I wrote in the Trends Journal that the dot-com bubble would burst before the end of the second quarter of 2000. It's right there for everyone to look at. And it did. It burst in March. There's a lot of pessimism in the markets now. March and April are going to be critical months to see where the future is taking us in the financial markets. I urge you to stay tuned very closely. Again, when you look at these facts and the numbers, the only thing that's holding it together are low interest rates. And not only here, also around the world, as I keep mentioning.
All right, here he is a year earlier, back in June.
Gold investment demand in China advanced 10% because of buyers seeking a haven from Europe's debt crisis and the prospects of weakening currencies, according to the country's largest bullion bank. Exactly what I've been saying. Oh, bank runs. Dun, da, da, da. Holiday. They call the bank holiday in Italy. That's right. People are freaking out. To me, anybody that has a lot of dough in the bank and gets it taken from them when they call a holiday. Remember, you heard it coming, you saw it coming, you knew it was going to come.
Here he is back in 2012 as well. In the Trends Journal, we're putting it on screen for radio listeners. And that was before 2012. They made the prediction in 2012 that would start unfolding. And then he's got blow-ups of it. The conditions continue to deteriorate, that you would see panic-type activities and bank holidays. And we've also predicted on the show that they would grab money. Now, this is out of the from my broadcast, December 27, 2011. They were talking about declaring a bank holiday.
That's right. This is June 2009. Biden's words are, as soon as we got sworn in, the first thing at the top of our list, we had the transition team there and 30 economists, was whether or not to call a bank holiday.
This is no holiday, folks. You can't
Hold on,
get money.
hit pause.
You think it's
Let's back it up to the beginning of that. We're going to start the next hour of Overdrive with Gerald Celente. And I know I'm laughing as this is so painful. That's from 2 years ago, him saying, get ready for the bank holidays. We'll be right back with Gerald Celente, Ted Anderson, and your phone calls. Fourth hour coming up. Infowars.com for audio streams. Your station doesn't carry it.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com.
Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high-performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants.
So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
I really like how Gerald does the news, and I routinely go over to his site and watch his daily news briefs and weekly news briefs, sitting behind his great bar there at his old family grocery store that he converted into an office. And as my crew's been up there, it'd be great to be in that neighborhood and friends with Gerald, drop by, have a beer with him. Ted Anderson's with us. Ted, you just heard some of those predictions. We're going to come back in the next segment and play the one we haven't gotten to and go to some calls with Gerald Celente. But this is really a no-brainer. What's your comments on where we see this going? I mean, don't the globalists know that MF Global and stuff like this is only going to destroy confidence in them? I mean, you've even got the Federal Reserve head of Dallas coming out and saying this is crony capitalism and it's going to destroy us.
Well, it sure is going to destroy us, and Gerald is right on target. I mean, he's been right on for how many years now? I mean, Alex, it's been years and years and years of predictions. You cannot continue to print money and bail out your friends and make a great deal for them and screw the people without having consequences. And we're seeing those consequences. Yeah, they could have set up the CYPRUS thing. I mean, how could one little island like this, throw an economic earthquake into the entire world's economy? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. If people are smart, they will be getting out of the paper and getting into gold and silver. I mean, just like Gerald said. I mean, I own some buildings too because I have to operate. I've been to Gerald's place. It's a beautiful place. And I need to tell you, if you're sitting in the bank, if you have your money in paper, I think you're making a big mistake. You just really are.